Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about two things. The first one is zero product property, and after that it will link us to how to solve quadratic equations by factoring. If you already know how to solve equations by factoring, which is what we have here, you can skip this video and start working on the exercises. If you're not so sure about what's solving quadratic equations by factoring, which means this, something like that, then you should definitely continue on with this video. Okay, so let's get started. The zero product property is very simple. Okay, so this is it. If I say today I have a number A, not necessarily a number, it could be some equations, could be a number, could be equations, could be anything, right? And then A and then multiplied by B, and that gives us 0. Then that means it's either my A is equal to 0, right? And my B could be anything, or my B is equal to 0 and my A can be anything. Because when my A is equal to 0, 0 multiply anything gives us 0. And vice versa, if B is equal to 0, then A can be whatever we want, right? So for example, if I have something like this, I have I have x minus 2 multiplied by x plus 1 is equal to 0. Then it's either, so I have this whole chunk here is my A, and this whole chunk here is my B, right? So now what I have on this side, on the right hand side, this is A times B is equal to 0. So it's either my A is equal to 0, which means in this case my A is x minus 2. So I'm gonna have x minus 2 is equal to 0, or x plus 1 is equal to 0, right? So my x is equal to 2 and my x is equal to negative 1. Okay, so I hope you guys get the idea of the zero product property, because now that we know this property, we can use it to help us to solve quadratic equations. Okay, so let me show you guys how does the property help us to solve quadratic equations. So for example, if I have something like x squared minus 5x plus 4 is equal to 0, right? Number one, how do I know it's a quadratic equation? Because I hope you know the answer. It's because of this squared right there, right? If the highest power is a squared, then we call that a quadratic equation. So even this counts as a quadratic equation. Y is equal to x squared. It's very simple, but it has a power of 2, so it is a quadratic equation. Okay. All right. So let's get back to the solving part. All right. So how do I solve this? By using the zero product property, right? So I'm going to try to factor it. We call this factor it, and I'm always going to start with these brackets. And you guys probably have learned this back in algebra 1, or even before that, right? So x squared can be broken down into x times x, right? And then the 4 here can be broken down into 1 times 4, or 4 times 1, or 2 times 2, right? But you need to think about this. So we have 3 choices here: 1, 4, 4, 1, or 2, 2, right? So we have 3 choices. Which one do we go for, right? Because they give us different stuff. So think about it. The easy way is sort of, you think about 1 and 4. What do I add them or minus them? So I'll get this negative 5, right? That negative 5 right there. That's my goal. So this 2 here, 2 times 2 gives me 4. So that seems okay. But if I add the 2 or minus the 2, I cannot get this negative 5, right? This negative 5 has to be there. So I'm going to erase I know that the 2 and the 2 doesn't work. The 1 and the 4 here, and the 4 and the 1 there, they both give me the same thing. So I'm just going to stick with 1 and 4. Okay. So in order for me to have -5, so let's say, so this x times x gives me x squared. You kind of do this on the side. X times 4x gives me 4x. 1 times x gives me a 1x, and then 1 times 4 gives me a 4. Then in order for me to get -5x, that should be negative, that should be negative. The negative goes to your -4x. Your -4x came from the 4 here, so the negative goes there. Okay? And then the negative go to your x. This x came from the 1, so the negative also go there. Alright? Okay, so now I have converted a quadratic equation, and we call this the standard form. This is called standard form. We have converted the quadratic equation from standard form to factored form. Right? This is called factored form. Right? And now the factored form is awesome because we can use the zero product property. The x minus 1 here is my a, the x minus 4 there is my b. So it's either x minus 1 is equal to 0 or x minus 4 is equal to 0, which means my x is equal to 1 and my x is equal to 4. My x could be those two values. Okay, let me show you guys another example. All right, so let's say we have 3x squared plus 2x minus 5 is equal to 0, right? And they want us to solve this. Again, we'll always try to see if we can factor the quadratic equations. So let's try to factor it. Put down the 2 parentheses, and then we'll see what goes where. So in order for me to get 3x squared is equal to 3x multiply my x, right? So 3x multiply x gives me 3x squared. Now this 5 at the back, it could be I have a 1 here and a 5 there, or I can have a 5 there and a 1 there, right? So I need to consider both cases and evaluate, kind of do this on the side, which arrangement, the 1 here, 5 there, 5 here, 1 there, which arrangement will give us this positive 2x here. Okay, so let's see. If I have a 5 here, if I have a 1 here and 5 there, when I distribute this, that gives me 15x, and that gives me 1x. 15x and then 1x, I add them, minus them, I will never get this plus 2x. So that clearly shows that the arrangement, it doesn't work. Right, so I cannot use the 1 and the 5 there. Instead, if I have the 5 here and 1 there, so let's try that. So you have the 5 here and the 1 there. So 3x times 1 gives me 3x. 5 times x gives me 5x. I'm trying to get this plus 2x, so which means my 5x must be plus, my 3x should be negative. Right, so be careful with the sign here. So negative. So the signs here, you have the freedom to choose the signs in the front, but we have to somehow get this plus 2x, which was given to us. So the negative goes to your 3x. So the 3x came from your 1, correct? 3x times 1 gives us this. So the negative goes to your 1. The positive goes to your 5x, and your 5x came from the 5. So this is your plus. So just to double check, 3x times x, that gives us 3x squared. 3x times -1 gives me -3x. 5 times x plus 5x. And then finally, positive 5 multiply -1 minus 5. And that will give us 3x squared plus 2x minus 5, which was the original equation. So we didn't change anything. We only changed the way the equation looks. Okay? So now we can just use the zero product property. The zero product property, and my x 3x plus 5 is equal to 0. X minus 1 is equal to 0. So my x is equal to negative 5 over 3. Or my x is equal to 1. Okay? Alright, good luck, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.